If you have diabetes, this bread could be silently destroying your health. In fact, it might be even worse for your body than eating pure sugar. And the scariest part? Millions of people eat it every day, thinking they're making a healthy choice. Picture this: you decide to cut out processed foods and switch to something better, believing you're managing your diabetes the right way. But despite your efforts, your blood sugar keeps spiking, leaving you exhausted and frustrated, and you have no idea why. The truth is, many so-called healthy breads might actually be sabotaging your health. Even those labeled as whole grain, high fiber, or multigrain can be dangerous traps for diabetics. The food industry knows this but doesn't want you to find out. Today, we're exposing this hidden truth. We'll reveal the worst bread for diabetics and explain how it could be stopping you from controlling your blood sugar. And at the end, I'll show you a simple solution to protect yourself and take back control of your health. So stay with me until the end, because what you're about to learn could change your life. Most people with diabetes believe they're making the right choices when it comes to bread. They pick whole wheat, multigrain, or even gluten-free options, thinking these are better for their blood sugar. But what if I told you that some of these breads can spike your glucose just as fast, if not faster, than eating a spoonful of sugar? The reason lies in how these breads are processed. Even whole wheat bread, which sounds healthy, is quickly broken down into glucose once it enters your body. The result? A rapid blood sugar spike that forces your pancreas to release a flood of insulin, leaving you on a roller coaster of energy crashes and cravings. And that's not even the worst part. When your body is constantly hit with high blood sugar levels, your cells become resistant to insulin. Over time, this leads to even more difficulty controlling diabetes, increased weight gain, and a higher risk of complications like nerve damage and heart disease. Many food companies hide this information behind labels like high fiber or heart healthy, tricking you into believing you're making a smart choice. But they don't tell you that these breads still contain refined grains and additives that make it nearly impossible to keep your blood sugar stable. This is the hidden danger that most diabetics never realize, until it's too late. But don't worry, because in the next section, we're going to break down the biggest myth about healthy bread and what you should really be looking for. Stay with me. For years, we've been told that whole wheat, multigrain, and even gluten-free breads are the best options for maintaining a healthy diet, especially for people with diabetes. Doctors, nutritionists, and food companies have pushed this idea so aggressively that most diabetics never question it. They feel confident that as long as they avoid white bread, they're making a good choice. But here's the shocking truth: even those so-called healthy breads can send your blood sugar skyrocketing just as fast as white bread, or even faster in some cases. The problem is how these breads are made. Many whole wheat and multigrain breads are still packed with refined flours that break down rapidly in your body, turning into glucose in a matter of minutes. Even when you see labels like high fiber or low glycemic index, that doesn't mean the bread is actually safe for diabetics. In reality, the fiber content is often too low to make a real difference, and the presence of processed grains can still cause sharp blood sugar spikes. Some gluten-free breads are even worse, containing high-starch ingredients like rice flour, potato starch, or tapioca starch, which can raise blood sugar levels even more dramatically than regular bread. This is where so many diabetics get trapped. They think they're following the right diet, they carefully read food labels, and they genuinely believe they are making the best choice for their health. But despite their efforts, they still struggle with unstable blood sugar, constant fatigue, and frustrating weight gain. They blame themselves, thinking they must be doing something wrong, when in reality, they've been misled by the food industry. These companies know that people associate whole wheat and gluten-free with health, so they use those buzzwords to sell more products, without caring about the consequences. What's even more frustrating is that most doctors and dietitians don't warn diabetics about this. Not because they don't care, but because they were taught the same misleading information in their training. The truth is, many professionals simply repeat what's been told to them for decades, without looking deeper into the science of how these breads truly affect blood sugar. And as a result, millions of people with diabetes continue eating foods that silently sabotage their health. But now that you know the truth, you have the power to make a real change. In the next section, I'll explain exactly what happens inside your body when you eat these healthy breads and why they can be even more dangerous than pure sugar. Stay with me, because this next part could be the wake-up call you need to finally take control of your diabetes. The moment you take a bite of bread, whether it's white, whole wheat, or even gluten-free, the breakdown process begins immediately. Your saliva contains enzymes that start converting carbohydrates into simple sugars before you even swallow. By the time the bread reaches your stomach, your digestive system rapidly processes it, breaking it down into glucose that enters your bloodstream. And here's the problem. Because many of these breads contain refined grains and high-starch ingredients, this process happens incredibly fast, leading to an immediate spike in your blood sugar levels. Your pancreas then jumps into action, releasing a surge of insulin to remove the excess glucose from your blood. At first, this might seem like a good thing, since insulin helps regulate blood sugar. But over time, repeated exposure to high glucose levels forces your body to pump out more and more insulin. Eventually, your cells stop responding properly, leading to insulin resistance, the key driver behind type 2 diabetes. This means your body needs even more insulin just to keep your blood sugar under control, creating a vicious cycle that makes it harder to lose weight, maintain energy levels, and prevent further health complications. And the consequences don't stop there. As your blood sugar spikes and crashes repeatedly, you start experiencing constant fatigue, intense hunger, and uncontrollable cravings, especially for more carbs. This is why so many people with diabetes feel trapped in a never-ending cycle of eating bread, feeling exhausted, craving more, and then eating again. It's not a lack of willpower, it's your body reacting to the roller coaster of blood sugar instability caused by these so-called healthy breads. And the more this cycle continues, the more damage it does to your metabolism, making it nearly impossible to control diabetes effectively. What's even scarier is that these constant blood sugar spikes contribute to long-term complications. High glucose levels cause inflammation throughout your body, damaging blood vessels, nerves, and organs. This is why uncontrolled diabetes leads to serious issues like heart disease, kidney failure, vision loss, and nerve damage. And while most people focus on sugar as the main culprit, few realize that certain types of bread can have the same, if not worse, effects on your health. But there's good news. Now that you understand how this process works, you can take steps to protect yourself. In the next section, I'll share a real-life story of someone who fell into this dangerous trap, unknowingly damaging their health for years, until they discovered the truth. Their experience might sound painfully familiar, but it will also give you hope that change is possible. Stay with me, because this could be the most important lesson you ever learn about managing your diabetes. Let me tell you about Mark, a 57-year-old man who thought he was doing everything right to control his diabetes. Like many others, he listened to his doctor, followed dietary guidelines, and avoided obvious sources of sugar. He swapped out white bread for whole wheat, cut back on sweets, and made an effort to eat healthier foods. Every morning, he started his day with 2 slices of whole grain toast, believing he was fueling his body with the right nutrients. But despite his efforts, his blood sugar was still all over the place. Frustration set in as Mark kept experiencing extreme highs and lows. He would feel great after eating breakfast, but within 2 hours, he was exhausted, irritable, and craving more food. His doctor told him it was just part of diabetes, suggesting that he watch his portions and exercise more. So, Mark reduced his calorie intake, walked every evening, and even started taking additional medication. But nothing seemed to work, his weight kept creeping up, and his diabetes was only getting harder to manage. Then came the real wake-up call. During a routine checkup, his doctor looked at his latest blood tests and delivered some shocking news. Mark's A1C levels had gone up instead of down. His cholesterol and blood pressure were also worsening, and he was now at serious risk for heart disease. Confused and scared, he asked what else he could do. That's when a diabetes specialist asked a simple but life-changing question: what kind of bread are you eating? At first, Mark was defensive. He thought he had been making the best possible choice by eating whole wheat and multigrain bread. But the specialist explained how even these breads could trigger blood sugar spikes just as bad as white bread, sometimes even worse. Mark felt betrayed. How could the food industry and even some doctors promote something that was keeping him sick? He had spent years unknowingly harming his body, all because he believed the myths about healthy bread. That day, Mark made a change. He cut out the breads that were secretly working against him and switched to smarter, blood sugar-friendly alternatives. Within weeks, his energy levels stabilized, his cravings disappeared, and for the first time in years, he started losing weight without starving himself. More importantly, his blood sugar readings became more predictable, and his next A1C test showed real improvement. Mark's story is not unique. It's the same mistake millions of diabetics make every single day. But now that you know the truth, you don't have to fall into the same trap. In the next section, I'll explain how the bread industry keeps you hooked on these harmful products and why so many people struggle to break free from this dangerous cycle. Stay with me, because what you're about to learn will open your eyes to one of the biggest food industry secrets of all time. If you've ever felt like no matter what you do, your diabetes keeps getting worse, you're not alone. Millions of diabetics, just like Mark, follow what they believe to be the right diet, yet they continue to struggle with uncontrollable blood sugar, constant fatigue, and stubborn weight gain. And the reason is simple: the food industry has designed a system that keeps you hooked on foods that harm you, especially bread. But this isn't just about personal choice, it's about a multi-billion-dollar industry that profits from your suffering. The problem starts with how bread is made. Even so-called healthy, whole grain and gluten-free breads are processed in ways that strip them of natural fibers while increasing their ability to spike blood sugar. Manufacturers use refined flours, added sugars, and high-starch ingredients to make the bread taste better and last longer on shelves. The result? A food that digests rapidly, causing quick glucose spikes followed by crashes that leave you craving more. This cycle forces you to keep eating, thinking you need another meal or snack to boost your energy, when in reality, the very food you're eating is what's draining you. And this isn't just a coincidence. Food companies know exactly how to manipulate ingredients to keep you coming back for more. They conduct research on how different formulations affect cravings, ensuring that their products trigger the pleasure centers in your brain. That's why bread, especially processed varieties, can feel almost addictive. Every time your blood sugar crashes after eating it, your body sends a signal that you need to eat again, keeping you in a constant state of hunger and dependency. This isn't just about weight gain or energy levels. When your body is stuck in this cycle, it leads to long-term damage. Chronically high insulin levels from repeated blood sugar spikes contribute to insulin resistance, making it harder for your body to regulate glucose. Over time, this increases your risk for complications like nerve damage, heart disease, kidney failure, and even vision loss. And yet, most people are never told that one of the biggest culprits behind this slow decline is the bread they eat every single day. But now that you know the truth, you have a choice. You can either continue falling into the same trap that keeps millions of people sick, or you can break free from the cycle and start making choices that actually support your health. And in the next section, we're going to expose what the medical industry won't tell you about bread, diabetes, and the real reason why so many diabetics struggle to improve their condition. Stay with me, because this next part could completely change the way you see your diet, and your health, forever. Most diabetics rely on their doctors to guide them toward the right foods, but what if I told you that even many health professionals don't fully understand the dangers of bread? Not because they don't care, but because they were trained using outdated nutritional guidelines. The truth is, most doctors receive little to no education on how specific foods impact blood sugar on a deeper level. They simply repeat the mainstream advice: eat whole grains, avoid sugar, and exercise. But what they don't realize is that even those whole grains can trigger dangerous blood sugar spikes. The problem is that traditional dietary recommendations for diabetics are based on outdated research that prioritizes lowering fat intake instead of focusing on stabilizing blood sugar. This is why so many diabetics are told to eat whole wheat bread instead of white bread, as if that alone will fix the problem. But here's what most doctors won't tell you: whole wheat bread has a glycemic index that is nearly identical to white bread. This means that both cause rapid blood sugar spikes, forcing your pancreas to release a flood of insulin, leading to the same insulin resistance that doctors warn you about. What's worse is that many nutritionists and healthcare providers still push outdated food pyramids that encourage whole grains as a staple in your diet. They fail to consider how different people react to these foods, especially diabetics. You may have noticed that even when following all the rules, your blood sugar remains unstable. That's because the advice you've been given is based on flawed information. And instead of investigating further, many doctors simply prescribe more medications, assuming that's the only solution. And let's not forget the influence of the food industry. Companies that produce bread and other processed foods sponsor nutritional studies and fund organizations that set dietary guidelines. This means that much of the research shaping diabetes recommendations is heavily biased. That's why you'll see heart-healthy labels on products filled with refined grains and hidden sugars. The food industry doesn't want you to stop eating these products because they make billions off of people who believe they're making healthy choices. Now, here's the good news: you don't have to keep falling for these misleading recommendations. By understanding how certain breads impact your body, you can make smarter choices that actually help you stabilize your blood sugar, reduce insulin resistance, and feel better overall. In the next section, I'm going to share a powerful emotional story of someone who finally broke free from this cycle and turned their health around. If you've ever felt hopeless about your diabetes, this story will give you the motivation you need to take action. Stay with me. For years, Susan struggled with her diabetes. She followed every piece of advice her doctor gave her, eating whole wheat bread instead of white, cutting out sweets, and taking her medications exactly as prescribed. But despite all her efforts, nothing seemed to work. Her blood sugar was still unstable, she felt exhausted every afternoon, and her weight refused to budge no matter how much she exercised. She started to believe that maybe this was just her reality, that diabetes would always control her life. Then one day, something happened that changed everything. During a routine visit, her doctor suggested increasing her medication again. Frustrated, Susan asked a simple question: why isn't anything I'm doing working? Her doctor gave her the usual response: diabetes is progressive, it just gets worse over time. That answer hit her like a ton of bricks. Was she really doomed to get worse no matter what she did? Determined to find another way, Susan started researching on her own. That's when she discovered the shocking truth about the bread she had been eating every day. She learned that even her healthy, whole wheat and multigrain breads were keeping her blood sugar on a roller coaster, forcing her body to release more and more insulin until it became resistant. She wasn't failing, she was simply following the wrong advice. Susan decided to take action. She removed the problematic breads from her diet and replaced them with better alternatives that didn't cause extreme blood sugar spikes. Within weeks, she noticed a huge difference. Her energy levels stabilized, she wasn't constantly hungry anymore, and for the first time in years, she started losing weight effortlessly. When she went back for her next checkup, her doctor was shocked: her blood sugar levels had improved dramatically. And the best part? She had done it without increasing her medication. Susan's story isn't unique. Thousands of diabetics unknowingly suffer because they trust outdated advice. But just like Susan, you now have the power to take control of your health. In the next section, I'm going to show you exactly what you can do to avoid the biggest mistake of your life when it comes to bread and diabetes. This could be the breakthrough you've been waiting for, so stay with me. Now that you know the truth about traditional breads and how they sabotage your health, the next logical question is, what can you eat instead? The good news is that you don't have to give up bread entirely. You just need to make smarter choices, ones that won't send your blood sugar through the roof or keep you trapped in the cycle of cravings and fatigue. One of the best alternatives is low-carb, high-fiber bread made from ingredients like almond flour, coconut flour, or flaxseed. These types of bread are packed with fiber and healthy fats, which help slow digestion and prevent blood sugar spikes. Unlike regular whole wheat or gluten-free bread, these options provide steady energy without triggering insulin surges. And the best part? Many of them taste just as delicious as traditional bread, so you won't feel like you're missing out. Another excellent choice is sprouted grain bread, which is different from regular whole wheat bread. Because the grains are sprouted before being processed, they contain more nutrients and have a lower impact on blood sugar. They also have a higher fiber content, which helps slow glucose absorption. While it's still important to eat it in moderation, sprouted grain bread is far superior to the processed, refined versions most people consume. If you want to take things to the next level, consider completely replacing bread with nutrient-dense alternatives. Many diabetics have found that swapping bread for lettuce wraps, egg-based wraps, or even homemade flaxseed crackers gives them the satisfaction of eating a sandwich without the negative effects of traditional bread. These options provide crunch, texture, and flavor while supporting stable blood sugar levels. The key takeaway is this: you don't have to settle for foods that keep you sick. There are better alternatives that allow you to enjoy meals without harming your body. Now that you have this knowledge, the power is in your hands. And in the final section, I'm going to give you one last powerful message, one that will help you take action today and finally take back control of your diabetes. Now that you finally know the truth, you have two choices. You can continue eating the breads that are silently destroying your health, believing the same myths that have kept diabetics trapped for decades. Or you can take control, break free from the cycle, and start making choices that actually support your body. The decision is yours, but only one of these paths leads to a healthier, longer life. Think about everything you've learned today. You now understand why so many diabetics struggle, why the advice you've been given is flawed, and how the food industry profits from keeping you sick. You also know that real solutions exist, alternatives that won't send your blood sugar through the roof or leave you feeling drained and hopeless. The only thing left is for you to take action. That's why I've put together something special for you. In the first pinned comment, you'll find a link to a powerful resource, Diabetes Under Control, Self-Care Strategies for a Better Life. This guide is packed with essential strategies to help you regain control of your blood sugar, make smarter food choices, and finally break free from the cycle that's been holding you back. Thousands of people have already used these strategies to transform their health. Now it's your turn. Don't wait until your next doctor's visit to realize things have gotten worse. Don't let another day go by feeling tired, frustrated, and powerless. Click the link in the first comment now and take the first step toward better health today. You have the knowledge. You have the power. Now, make the choice that your future self will thank you for.